In today's homemaking video, I have some healthy meal ideas for dinner and lunch. I am going to show you guys the garden seeds and talk a little bit about how I'm making our garden plan. I'm going to show a new cost-effective way that I found to store bread. For those of you that have a hard time putting on the brakes and stopping to smell the roses, I'm going to share a really simple way that I found to stop and smell those beautiful motherhood and wife roses. It is so effective and so easy. And bonus points for those of you that suffer from anxiety, it helps with that. But I'm also going to share one more thing that I have learned in how to decompress. Hey there, I'm Shayla, an earthy mountain mama and a happy homemaker wife. Thank you for being here. We have a homeschool family of 8, and 2 to 4 times a month I share a video here with wholesome scratch cooking, homemaking, homeschooling, and homesteading, and a short, sweet devotional with hopes of being a light in this dark world. I am no spring chicken like so many similar YouTubers, but what I do have is over 30 years experience in many of the things that I share here at this channel. We would love to have you come along and join us here, so hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see videos like this more often. When life is busiest, I find that it works best to keep the menu simple and to stick to the favorites. You know, the basics. Taco Tuesday. We like to have tacos or fajitas for lunch, and I lately have been making our own tortillas with sourdough. I have a video with all my sourdough recipes and a blog post with all of them, so I will link to those in the description box below. They're so good though. Having the same affordable staple planned every week minimizes time spent meal planning, and the thing about regularly serving favorites once a week is a surefire way to make everybody happy and make sure all the food gets eaten. But sometimes it's fun to jazz things up a bit, and that is what we have been doing in our home lately. Since spring is on the way and homesteading activities are about to take over, that means we only have a little bit of time left inside to really soak up the indoors. I enjoy teaching my oldest children how to cook, and lately we have been diving into Julia Child's volumes and having some fun with some hot cooking. Today we're going to be making some beef bourguignon, and since I'm teaching my oldest children, it's not going to go according to plan. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to be a little different. Hey, are you afraid of cooking in stainless steel? A lot of people are, so I'm going to show you the trick to cooking with stainless steel. The trick is to get your pan super hot and turn it on. When you can put a few drops of water in it and they sizzle around like this, that's when you know it's ready. If it just evaporates immediately, it's not ready. I'm just using regular bacon here, and typically I would use 4 pieces, but we want to double this because, as mentioned, we're a larger family and we want to be eating off of this for at least 2 days, if not 3. So we're going to be using 2 roasts and just doubling everything. But that's not all we're going to be making. We're going to be making 2 Julia Child dishes today. Carbonades a la flamande. Okay, I know I didn't say that right. I will say that whatever you call this dish, it was the bomb. It was so good, and it's a favorite that we're going to be making regularly from now on. I'll probably share more accurate proportions and a more accurate recipe in my memberships for this beef bourguignon, as well as the carbonades a la flamande. But for those of you who are a lot like me and either don't have time or aren't that interested in following recipes exactly, just follow along here. To make my version of beef bourguignon, I simply cook up the bacon, and then after it's all cooked in the pan, I use the same pan to sear all sides of the beef. And as you can see, we cut our beef in about 2-inch size chunks. It's really important that the beef is dry, so you need to dry it with a towel. We rolled our beef in gluten-free flour, but you can use all-purpose flour. And then we seared the beef until it was browned on all sides. What this does is it helps seal in all of the juices and, of course, flavor. Since we were doing such a large quantity of beef, I deglazed the fond from the pan each time between, and I used Marsala cooking wine to deglaze the pan with. If you use cooking wine, it's already got some salt added, so I am waiting to add any salt at all until the end of this dish. By the way, it's not recommended to use a cooking wine. It's recommended to use dry wine. For a double batch like we're making, we're gonna need 6 cups. Once the beef was done, we sauteed our carrots and onions. As you can see, we had quite a few here. This is something that I really think is a personal family preference kind of a thing. If you have people in your house that love the carrots, you'll put more in. And if you have people that can't stand carrots in your house, well, you might not want to put any in. I do recommend putting some in, even if you're not going to eat them, just to keep the recipe a little more accurate and traditional. And it does give more nutrition and flavor to the dish. As the vegetables are sauteing, add the remainder of the flour and just kind of sprinkle it over all of the beef cubes. Now, I believe that while the vegetables are cooking, your meat is supposed to be in a 325-degree oven, browning a little bit more. We forgot to do that though. Those onions around. Stir it again. There you go. That's it. To the flour. I want you to know we royally messed up this dish, but it didn't matter. It still tasted pretty much the same, and it was so good. One of my favorite things about this dish is you can make it up a day in advance, and it is always better the second day. So this is like a great dish to do for like a Sunday. You can mix it up on a Saturday or a Friday even, and just reheat it on a nice, cool, chilly Sunday. Want to take a break and show you this super nifty little plate holder that we just found. We previously only had this little space on top of the microwave for our plates, and we had 3 different sizes stacked here, and it was such a hassle, especially for the small children, to get a plate and put it back without dropping any on the floor. So I realized this very small little space over here might work for stacking plates on their side, and I happened to find the perfect little plate holder with measurements that fit perfectly in the spot. I've always thought that stacking plates on their side was kind of a bad use of space because you always see where they're stacked single file, but with Corelle you can stack several next to each other in each one of these slots. So if you've got Corelle, one of these would actually save space instead of taking up more space. This was a great purchase, and it made it a lot easier for the little kids to get their plates and put plates away. Next up is a carbonades a la flamande. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Beef and onions braised in beer. According to Julia Child, beer is typical for the Belgian braise and gives a quite different character to beef than the red wine of the Bourguignon. This is another recipe we doubled, and you guys, this just couldn't have been better. This is probably going to be our new favorite beef dish. So we've got about 6 pounds of beef here, and we braised it. We sauteed up about 12 cups of sliced onions. Yes, it was a lot. Used about a whole head of garlic, salt and pepper. We were supposed to use 2 beers, but we only had 1. So we used a little extra beef broth. I used about 4 cups of beef broth in this. And then of course the thyme, some parsley, bay leaf, and about 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. Oh yeah, and when you're mixing all this, you're supposed to layer beef, onions, then more beef, and then more onions. And then you just pop this in the oven and you let it slow roast for a few hours. Alternatively, you can do what we did, and we just roasted ours on our wood cook stove for about 4 or 5 hours. When it's done, you're supposed to strain the liquid off and beat in about 3 tablespoons cornstarch mixed with about 4 tablespoons of wine vinegar, and simmer that to make a sauce. And then, of course, mix it all back together. For those that are new here, we began purchasing our dream home on our mountain homestead almost 2 years ago now, but the home isn't finished, so we're working to finish it off. This was the most unfinished room, and we're finally starting to tackle it. I am looking very forward to getting this room done and potentially turning it into our home library. Since we homeschool, we have so many books to store. While the men folk work on that room, I know they're working up an appetite, so I'm gonna make some jalapeno cheddar bread to go with the braised beef and onions. What I have here is just my regular simple sourdough recipe, which you can find linked to in the video that I will link to in the description and on my blog. What I have here is some dough that has been bulk fermenting. I make up a large portion of dough at a time and leave it to bulk ferment in the refrigerator. And every day that I want to bake bread, I'll just go pull some out and make it from scratch. If you would like to know more about my sourdough process, I will link to my sourdough video. Again, it's in the link in the description box below. Cheddar jalapeno bread is one of our family favorites. Of course, the littler children don't like this, so you can notice in the background right there, I have a small little loaf for the youngest children who don't like jalapenos.
Taking some time to get all settled in, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. I never thought that I would move out of town. There's something about this place that holds me down. Made some mistakes, but I can start again, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm grateful to know you so.
In one of my last videos, I made some beeswax wraps and I showed you guys how I did it. Well, I got to thinking, I wonder if there's a way to make a beeswax bread bag. That way I wouldn't have to be using and throwing away the plastic bread baggies all the time. I thought about it a while and came up with the perfect plan, and you guys, it worked.
These are 12 by 12 squares, and what I did is I sewed that side together, wrong sides together. Now I'm going to take this piece over here and I'm going to sew it to this side the same way.
We got time on our side. We're in a state of hope. I need you on my phone.
This is the bag. Isn't this just so cute? It should fit, as long as it's not too over risen, it should fit loaf of bread pretty well. I already tested for that. I maybe should have made the end a little bit longer so I could twist tie it off. My oldest son suggested I put a drawstring in the top. I mean, I should put a drawstring in the top. That is a really smart idea, isn't it? So that's a step you could probably do. I don't like doing any more sewing than necessary, so I'll probably just tie this off with string or a twist tie.
Saw you walking the line, and the truth may come as a surprise. That with you I feel alive.
Me not doing the drawstring idea. It was just too good of an idea to just pass up, and it was easy. I just, as you saw, stitched it along the top. These are going to look so much better on the counter than plastic trashy bags.
I want you to know that every time you're away, I long for you so much I can find my way. And I saw you walking the line, and the truth may come as a surprise. That with you I feel alive.
want to show you something really special that some family members made me. This is a little seam ripper and a seam ripper case. Look at this. Isn't this just gorgeous?
Walking the line.
All right, here's our toaster. The bread box, the only place I really have a place for it right now is all the way through the kitchen on the other side of the dining room, way over there.
So one day after school, everybody got tired of the long walk to and from the bread box multiple times a day, and we decided to put the bread box over in this corner. So the boys are helping me out. They're taking the shelves that were up there down, and we're gonna hang the bread box up here. I noticed my plant over in this corner was touching the counter. Do I have any other plant lovers out there? I used to have 65 plants. I don't have as many anymore, but I still have a lot. February is a very good time to fertilize your plants because it's when most houseplants have a big growing spurt. So if you fertilize them in February, you'll be giving them what they need for a healthy year ahead. And downstairs, we're still working away. My husband's been working on this just in the evenings and some weekends when he has time. So it's kind of slow going. Maybe next video it'll be finished. The pace is picking up here as school and homesteading start overlapping. I got all of our garden seeds, all of our garden seeds this week. I need to count how many actual seeds are in the packets, not all of the packets. Like I have 8-9 packages of corn. So for that one example, I counted there were 85 seeds in one packet. So I'm just going to multiply that by however many packets I have. But I need to know or have an approximate idea of how many seeds there are, because there is just one thing I completely hate when I'm out in the garden planting, and that is to run out of seeds, because usually by that time of year the stores have sold out. So in order for me to get more of that seed, I would have to order it by mail, and it would be a week or two before it would arrive. So I like starting out with the right number of seeds plus some, just to assure that I have enough. We have such a short growing season that if I do have to order more seeds because I didn't have enough, then they will come and I might not have enough time to actually get them started, or I will have a very short harvest because, you know, I'll have lost weeks. So I bought just slightly more than I needed, but I want to count and make sure that I didn't order too many more than I needed, or that I didn't pick up too many more. Like I'm going to return 3 packages of corn because after I found out there was 85 seeds, or approximately 85 seeds in a package, I knew exactly how many packages I would need. So I've got 3 extra. I'm going to return them. I'm going to go through everything I've got here. I don't think I'm going to count these. Definitely not going to count those. I'll probably just go pick up another couple extra of the carrots. I'm using the Farmer's Almanac garden planning app. Usually it would take me like a week, maybe even more, to start planning our garden. For example, normally when I start planning a garden, I start in January. Well, this planning app makes it so that something that would take me at least a week to do or longer, I can do in an afternoon. I literally planned most of our garden in an afternoon. That's how easy the app made it. Another thing that I really love about the garden planning app is that it tells you how many plants you're going to need. So therefore you have an idea of how many seeds you're going to need. It's just great. It also tells you where in your garden you probably shouldn't plant certain things, because it shows you what was planted there for the previous 5 years prior. I believe it's the 5 years prior. So it's going to show me where I planted my potatoes last year, and every year that I have the app, it's going to continue showing me where those potatoes are planted. only it's gonna let me know, okay, this is where you planted potatoes a couple years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and then after I think 5 years, it's okay to plant potatoes in the same spot again. But the app is gonna help me keep track of that, which is wonderful. I bought an early corn and a late corn, or later corn, so that we'll be eating corn all summer long. This is an early sun glow. It says that they're supposed to be ready 63 days after planting, I believe. So 63 days to harvest. So that's going to be fun. We'll have corn a lot sooner this year. And then this will be the main corn crop that we harvest for the freezer. I'm such a ditz. Last year, I planted the sweet peppers and the hot peppers together. Totally forgot you're not supposed to plant them near each other. So I won't make that mistake again this year. I researched. This is supposed to be a good variety for the north. So hopefully we have sweet peppers sooner this year than we did last year. I think last year I did Jupiter. I think this one is supposed to be even a little bit better than the Jupiter though for the northern parts of the country. Last year when I went out to get seeds, all the serranos were gone. There was no serranos. There was no serrano peppers to buy anywhere. So this year I'm not going to take that chance. Serranos are my favorite, so I wanted to make sure I've got them this year. Last year I had trouble finding kohlrabi, however you say it. I got 2 packages this year. Ran out of spinach last year too, and I had trouble finding the variety I wanted, so I got extra of that. We're gonna try pole beans this year. Not because we need more space, but I've never really tried them, and I thought it would save our backs for having to pick beans if I got pole beans. Last year, the bok choy just seemed to bolt all through the season. And so I didn't get as much as I wanted. It just went straight to bolt. Like it would be just the right size one day, and then the next day it was like it was bolting. And so this year I decided to try baby bok choy with the hopes that they would stay small longer. I like using these in pickling, but I think I'm going to need to buy more. I did not get shelling peas because I wanted to talk to the kids first and see if they wanted them. I still need to. The youngest child does want them, but he's only 5, and I know he's not going to be the one shelling them. He'll be the one eating them. So I need to ask the older kids, hey, if I buy peas, you guys want to shell them? If they say yes, I'll buy more peas. And I thought it would be really fun this year, and we have the space, so I thought I would do this for the kids. Some pumpkin. Everywhere was sold out of dark green zucchini squash last year. I couldn't find any anywhere. I couldn't find any plants either. So I snagged some of those. Usually I buy marigolds, plants like already started, but that's expensive, and I realized I've never grown them before myself, and I realized, you guys, they only take 45 days to bloom. That's crazy. I will probably never buy the starts again. I will start them myself from now on, most likely, if this goes well. I like these colors here, the dwarf bolero. So that's what, I guess I only got 1 package of the dwarf bolero. Should have got more of that. Never been able to grow these, but I'm hoping I will be able to this year. Nasturtiums are great to keep the nasty insects that will eat your produce out of the garden. I bought a lot of pollinators this year. So I've got the nasturtiums, marigolds, sunflowers. Last year, I had a rather goofy mom fail. I bought sunflowers, and I wanted to plant one of those little huts where you plant the sunflowers in a circle or an oval or square, whatever, and you plant them so that it makes a little hut for kids to go inside and play in. And they're really cute, you know, like they're all over the internet. So I was gonna plant one, and I did. Well, they started blooming, and all of the sunflowers were only like 2-3 feet tall. I bought a miniature sunflower variety. So this year I decided I'm not gonna make that mistake again. I got mammoth sunflowers to do that with. Since we're talking about children and gardening, I thought let's make children the topic of today's devotion. Psalms 127, 3-5, it says, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him." Children truly are a blessing. They come with noise though, and a lot of work. I see so many mothers these days suffering from sensory overload by the end of the day. And this is especially true of homeschool moms who don't really get a break from their children throughout the day. So what do we do about that? How do we balance things? How do we stay in a balanced state while raising children, especially little children? Well, I'm not gonna lie, I do have my days where it's a little harder than others, and some days a lot harder than others, but there is something that I have found that can make all the difference in the world, and it's to stop and just embrace the moment. But it's hard. One of the hardest things to do, especially when you are feeling uptight. But one of the most effective ways that I have found to actually accomplish this is with a 5-minute tea break. I know it sounds crazy, but just hear me out. Look up the 5 senses theory to calm anxiety. There have been studies that have done if you can just look around and see 5 things, feel 4 things, listen for 3 things that you can hear, find 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste, it will help to calm and curb anxiety. A cup of tea covers all those things. And if you sit there with that cup of tea for just 5 minutes, chances are you're going to do the rest of the activities. Now, if you want to, and if you're able to take this to the next level, while you're sitting there having your cup of tea, watch your children, whatever they're doing. Now, I'm not going to lie, sometimes your kids might be misbehaving, but that's not always going to be the case. Try to make a habit of just sitting there relaxing with your cup of tea, though, and watching your children for a moment. What this is going to do is help you to learn to enjoy your children instead of just only consistently working for them. Lastly, I was talking to the doctor one time about how I was just feeling like really worn out and exhausted by the end of the day. She gave me a simple trick. She said, when your husband gets home from work, take a walk. You guys, it's really simple, but it is effective. Walks also are grounding and so refreshing, and they have a way of clearing our mind, and it's a great way to get some peace and quiet normally. It's important to know there is such a thing as noise pollution, and when you're around talking and chatting and noise all day long that comes with raising children, there's the noise too, and it's a good practice to get away when your spouse is around to run interference, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And a lot of times, just a dabble do ya. It doesn't take a lot of quiet to refresh and replenish the soul.